Hey there everyone, it's me again, back with another Lightwave mini tutorial. Today we're going to cover segment memory and recording your frames or animations. Those are a couple of mysteries for some, especially segment memory. Segment memory simply allows your Amiga allows Lightwave to render on Amigas with not enough memory. So right now we're at 320 by 240, which is the recommended resolution I suggest for anyone wanting to make animations on their Amigas. You can go higher, but you need to start having Amigas with 32 megabytes of memory, 64 megabytes of memory, and higher. If you want to keep this more retro Amiga friendly, I would suggest staying down at this size. Again, that's just a personal opinion. The file sizes can get large. They can become a hassle to play on other platforms, other platforms in the Amiga, if you get much larger than this. And as you can already see, 320 by 240 is requiring 8 megabytes of memory to get this down to one segment. Well, what is one segment? One segment is the actual render process that it does. So when you hit the F9 button and it starts rendering, it's treating the entire screen here as one large palette or canvas, one large canvas to render on. And this is the most efficient way to do this. It's the quickest and the most memory efficient, and as we know, render time and CPU time and speeds on our Amigas is very precious to us. So you want to keep it in that one segment of rendering. Now, let this actually finish here, so there you go, there's your one segment. If you have an Amiga with less than 8 megabytes of memory, obviously this won't work. It'll throw an error saying not enough memory. So on you guys with your 1200s with 8 megs of fast RAM, you can already see this can be pretty hairy trying to do even 320 by 240 at the fastest one segment mode. So what you can do though, because Lightwave is awesome, you can decrease this segment to like 2. Well, again, I forgot that this Amiga has way more than 8 megs of memory, so it's not going to really change much here. We'll set this to 1. So now you can see it's set the segments to 2. So it's split this rendered frame into 2 passes. So it's going to go render, send it to chip memory to display, then it's going to flush it all out, and then go render, send that to chip memory, and now you have a complete image. And that's what this will do here. And you just got to be mindful of that segment memory and how much memory your Amiga has. So you may want to render at medium resolution. You want to do a 640 by 480 animation. Well, that's going to take 8 segments with a segment memory of 1 megabyte. So if we set this to, let's say, 6 megabytes, because again, I don't know if I said this, I don't think I did. If you have an 8 megabyte Amiga, 8 megs of fast RAM, you don't want to just set this to 8 megabytes, because then you're not going to have any memory left for anything else, and it's going to yell at you. So I always like to lower it, at least by 1 megabyte, sometimes 2 megabytes buffer. So in this case, to do a 640 by 480 frame, it's going to take 2 segments, and that's going to allocate 6 megabytes of memory. So that's what the whole segment memory thing is. Now, rendering segments isn't the end of the world. Okay, it's a feature to allow you to be able to render on your Amiga even if you don't have enough memory. But it does slow things down because the Amiga is having to do a lot. It's having to shuffle memory and data around, chip RAM, fast RAM, all this stuff. So it does slow your renders down. That's why it's always best to make sure this segment memory is a value of 1. And you can do that by adjusting the memory. Now, if you've got a Super Amiga with 32 megabytes of memory or 64 megabytes of memory, this is not going to be a problem for you, and you're all set. But it's also another reason why I like to keep the animation size down and the render size down, not only for the segment memory and the fastest rendering, but again, the physical size of the frames, the file sizes, they're large, and they're going to fill up your Amiga pretty quickly. So that's segment memory. Now, if you go to record, this is where you save out either your anim or you save out your frames. And your animation is going to be your .anim file. And in this case, it's a 6-bit ham. I'm going to set this to 8-bit ham because we all love our 8-bit ham. And when you hit save animation, you'll type in the anim, and you can see there's the apple.anim. You'll click OK to save it. And then when you render this animation, it'll start writing on an animation file, a .anim file. Now, keep in mind, if this is the only thing you save, is this animation file, and you don't save frames, all you're going to get is the anim file. And if that's all you want, that you're ready to go. And a lot of times early on when I'm just doing test animations, I'll just do this because it's really quick and easy. It writes out the anim file for you. It's already compiled, and then you can just play it and look at it. Versus if you save out frames, you've got to then load those frames into a viewer, like Art Department Professional or some kind of frame loader that you can download it on AmiNet. And you've got to compile the animation yourself to look at it, which is a slow process, but it does give you higher quality individual frames versus compressed ham anim only and no frames. So you got to play that game with yourself. Like early on, I tend to just write out animation files again because they're already compiled. You can play them right away when it's done. Later on, when I'm getting closer to finals, I'll stop saving out the animation files and I'll switch to frames. Again, I pick the universal platform-friendly 24-bit Targa. Avoid the hip ones, as I've said before. They don't play nicely in Mac and Windows. 24-bit Targa is a nice, simple way. You give your file name down here. In this case, I always like to add the underscore after the file name so that, as you can see here, that way it'll be, my file name _001 instead of just smushed together like this. And if you click on here, you can do with extension or without extension, and you can do up to a padding of 4 digits. Anything beyond that, you're out of luck. I think it might do some kind of shifted offset name thing. I'm not sure. I've never had more than 9,999 frames, so I can't verify that. But this is where you save your frames, and this is where you save that anim. So yeah, the big takeaway from this, if you save only the animation, you're not going to have frames. You don't need to save frames to have this make an animation. These are totally separate. You can save just frames, or you can save just an animation, or you can save both at the same time. And obviously, if you save frames, you can make that animation however you want later. You can make it on your Mac, your PC. You can make it on the Amiga, whatever animation format you want. This is always going to be Amiga ham anim format. You do have video toaster format as an option if you do have a video toaster. So that is one other option you do have, but most of us aren't going to have that. We'll just be doing it in this format. So yeah, I guess this is kind of just a quick, fast, cheat way to get some animation file out for you. But really, save out the frames when you're ready to be serious with your animation and take it into another program to compile that animation. And to start that process off, I've talked about this before, but just as a reminder, you want to verify that your scene is set first frame, last frame, how many, what the frame step will be. So it's going to render 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what this is set to. And the frames per second is just letting you know that when you play this animation back, that was the intended speed. It's going to render out, in this case, 90 frames. And then you go down to the render button in the lower left, you click it, make sure again that this is set to the frame range you wanted. So this is going to probably be defaulted to manual. You want to switch it to automatic, and then click OK, and off your animation is going to go. And as it's building that animation, it's going to show the black and white preview screen, and then when it gets done, it'll show the color rendered frame. If you don't touch it, it'll just keep updating that colored frame with the next colored rendered frame. But if you click on the screen, don't worry, it'll take you back to the black and white screen showing render progress. Now, you're not going to ever see the color image again until it's done. So just know that if you set off your animation and you see the color image render and you click it and it takes you back to that render progress black and white data screen, you're going to be stuck there until it's done. And that should do it for saving out your frames and animations and what the heck segment memory does. Just remember, be mindful of how much memory your Amiga has, and always try and target a segment of 1. So that may mean you need to adjust your resolution to do that. It's a compromise, but keep in mind where you're going to be playing this back at. Have a good night, guys and girls and robots.